So I'm 2.5 years into my health journey now, and at this point I've got a lot of clarity on what the problem is, what the root cause of my chronic fatigue is. So it took me like a year to piece this together. Over the course of 2022, I kept coming across articles and posts on like Instagram, stuff on YouTube, people talking about how our oral facial development affects our health. And the first article I saw was actually shared by someone on Instagram, and they shared how our facial development has changed a lot over the last kind of couple of 100 years, and people before the Industrial Revolution had completely different lifestyles and ways of eating, and it had actually over time changed how our faces have developed, and particularly how the jaws have changed size and shape, and how this is actually causing a massive problem for airway issues. So I saw an amazing documentary by a girl called Sydney Avis. It was actually the trailer for the documentary. The trailer's called the Airway documentary, and the full documentary is going to be out at some point soon, but there's a really long 15-minute trailer. So it's like a mini documentary so far, really, but the full thing's coming out hopefully sometime soon. But I'll link to that in the description below. It's well worth watching. It's for free on YouTube, or you can go to the website and watch it there, but it's well worth watching. She's done a lot of work to work with different specialists and to really kind of try and understand the full picture of what's going on here. So if you want a quick understanding of kind of the issues that can be coming up through airway issues due to oral facial development, but you want just quick understanding, go and watch her documentary. I eventually found a YouTube channel by an ENT in the UK called Vic Veer. He's posted loads of videos, but one in particular he posted is about a condition called UARS, which stands for Upper Airway Resistance Syndrome. And it's basically very similar to sleep apnea, but works in a slightly different way. And I'd kind of already had a sleep test during 2021. And from what I could see on the test, it didn't show any sleep apnea, which is what I was kind of looking for. I was kind of concerned that that might be an issue by this point. But checking it out, it turned out that there wasn't any concern really for sleep apnea. I only had a few events per hour, which is really low for sleep apnea. They would at worst consider it to be mild. But what I didn't know at this point was about UARS, and the more I looked into that, the more I started to become aware that actually that was my problem, and I got more and more clarity the more and more I looked into it. So I'll link to Vic Veer's post in the description. I'll put a card up in the top corner as well, so you can go to that quickly if you want to. I've had lots of orthodontic and dentistry work done over the years. When I was younger, about kind of 12 years old, maybe 12, 13, I had a load of braces done, and I had what they call a twin block appliance. So they kind of widen your palate. My palate was like a V shape, and they kind of widened it to make it more U-shaped. It had like blocks on it, was to try and pull the bottom jaw forward because I had an underbite at the time. But what I've since learned, unfortunately, is that that particular appliance, because your top jaw isn't actually, a fixed anchor, it can actually pull your top jaw backwards as well, which turns out to be a really big problem. So although it did pull my bottom jaw forward as well and removed that overbite, it didn't necessarily help in other areas, but I wasn't aware of this at the time. So my palate's actually gone back to a V shape over time. The changes that I had have not stayed at all, which is kind of disappointing, particularly all the effort and pain you go through to have it done in the first place. You had this like gear thing you had to ratchet up every now and again, and that would push on all your teeth, probably more than anything. But because I was younger, it's also kind of guiding your jaw growth somewhat. But it doesn't seem to have stayed at all. It's just gone back, which has also led to this health issue. So I've since started looking into that. How can I sort that out? It's really difficult on our UK healthcare system to get in. I've actually got on Vic Veer's waiting list, but I have no idea how long that's going to be. It could take a very long time to even get to consulting with him. So I've started to also consult with other people, looking into people in America. I had an amazing opportunity to have a free consultation with Renata from Myo Moves. She was really helpful. She's going through her own airway journey. She's doing a MARP treatment at the moment. which I won't go into in depth, but you can go and look on her page if you want to see it. I'll link that below as well. But she kind of sat me down and worked me through what issues she can see that I actually have, just virtually looking at photos and things like that. So she laid out all the various problems that I had, and she started to suggest different ways I could work it out. So I've got things like tongue ties that need sorting, but you have to do it in a particular order, because if you release tongue ties too early, that can actually make the problem worse. So essentially it's to do with UARS is all about your airway collapsing, and during sleep, although you want to get into deep restful sleep, the more deep sleep you get into, the more your muscles start to relax and your airway then starts to collapse as a result. So although you don't actually stop breathing like you do in sleep apnea, you find it so hard to breathe that it takes you loads and loads of effort. And by the time you wake up in the morning, you've basically been working so hard overnight that you feel exhausted. Being in a situation where your body can't get the oxygen it needs causes your nervous system to kick in, and it starts to release adrenaline and cortisol to make sure that you don't suffocate basically. And so that also stops you getting enough REM and deep sleep. So when I started to look back at the sleep study I'd had done in 2021, I started to see this actually, that my REM and deep sleep were really low. The amounts I was getting was a few percent a night. I can't remember exactly, but I'll put it on the screen. But it was really low. It was 92 or something percent of my sleep was all light sleep. So I wasn't really getting the deep restorative sleep that I needed to feel rested each day. And this has been obviously going on for years, probably getting worse and worse and worse each year. And so that's why I think it's really built up to this point of having this crash in 2020. And I don't think I'll be able to recover from this at all until I've sorted this problem out. So this is the root cause I'm now working on. So Renata was really helpful. She lined out some things, and I've got some other consults coming up in the UK. One in mid-August with a guy called Dr. Lomas, who's a biological dentist, but very knowledgeable about airway stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm getting some CBCT scans, which are 3D scans of your jaw. And they can really accurately look at the bone and how wide is your jaw and all this kind of stuff. And they can start to understand what your bite looks like and what your particular problems are in detail. And I've got a sleep study I'm doing tonight, actually. And that's going to be sent over to America for Dr. Zaghi to look at, who's a specialist, works for the Breathe Institute. They do a lot of amazing work, bringing together different specialists to help with breathing issues and sleep disordered breathing issues. So I'm doing that tonight, and I've then got a consultation in September with Dr. Elmore in North Carolina. She does an appliance called the S.O.M.A. She's the only one around the world that's actually certified so far to do this treatment with this appliance, but that's a really non-invasive way of sorting this out. So basically mainly repositions your jaw and relaxes your nervous system, whereas a lot of the other treatments are kind of forcing your jaws apart, or you're going into invasive surgery, having to kind of chop your jaw up into little bits, move it about, and then rewiring plates and screw it back together to get it to stay in that position, which I'm absolutely not against. That's kind of the kind of thing Sydney Avis had done, and that can absolutely work. It's been life-changing for her. And I know some other people that have had that work done. There's plenty of examples online of people having that work done, but I don't know whether I necessarily need to go that far, and it's also extremely expensive. It's not something in the UK we can get done for free on the NHS, and we don't have kind of health insurance as standard in the UK, so you either have to pay privately, and I don't think they even cover it then, because they mainly only cover what the NHS kind of will cover, weirdly. So I don't think even at that point they consider it to be necessary to treat you for. So I think I'm going to have to pay for all this privately. So I'm more likely to go through something less invasive to begin with, to see what results I can get with that. And then if I don't get the results I need, I will start looking into more invasive options. But the main thing you're trying to do is to open up your airway, and particularly in the sinuses actually, to improve airflow so that you get positive air pressure going through your windpipe so that it stays open during the night and doesn't collapse. So that's the journey I'm on. I'm very excited to see where this goes, because it's now getting to the point where everything's starting to move. It's been taking a long time. It's taken me most of this year just to get to consultations with people. People are so kind of inundated with patients that need help that often you end up having to wait months and months and months. Like, I booked in with Dr. Seb in April, and it's only mid-August that I'm getting to see him, so it's kind of a big wait time. But I'm excited to see what comes out of that. It's going to be really amazing to see what the scanners show up, and I'm excited to see what the sleep study comes back with. I think it's just going to confirm what I already know, but it'll give more detail as well with exactly what the picture looks like for me. And I'm going to be able to take that to other people as well and get different opinions on which direction I should go, because every person you talk to has a different opinion on what thing you should do. So I've got loads of options. It's a little bit overwhelming at times to kind of sit and work through, the pros and cons of each one and the costs of them and all this kind of stuff to work out where you want to go, which direction you want to go in. At this point, I've already spent several thousand just to get in consults with people and stuff like that. So, the main thing to do after all this, the main objective of it is to basically improve my sleep and make my sleep restful, so that each night I'm actually getting restorative sleep and getting into deep sleep, and therefore getting all the good things that you get from sleep. That's why people talk about sleep so much and bang on about it. It's so important for basic health that you can't really, recover, in my opinion, without having sorted this kind of thing out. So that's what I'm working towards. I'm going to keep everyone updated. I think particularly at the end of September, I'll have done a few different consultations and I'll have a lot more information that I can share and really let you know where I'm up to and what I'm deciding to do. Look out for that. Let me know if this has been helpful for you, if you resonate with any of this. I know so many people are going through this issue right now. Please check out the links in the description. If this has been helpful, you give it a like and, subscribe to the channel if you want to keep getting updates and hearing what I'm doing with regards to this, if that's helpful for you. I'll see you in the next video.